Supplies. I'm Sandy. If you're joining me again, thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out with me. If you're new, I do all sorts of crafts. So today we're talking about a little knitting, some crochet, and some quilting, and possibly, depending how long this goes, unpacking another craft box because we'll get into it. So, on the knitting front, I am making the Bare Necessities layette, like it's a set by Bliss. So I'm making the blanket, the hat, and the sweater that matches the blanket. So this guy, I finished the back. I am doing the thing I always do where I make something for a baby and I freak out because that looks big, and in my head babies are super small, but it is a child, not a doll, so it will grow. And my sister-in-law is due soon, so I figure next winter, by like fall, he'll probably be toddling around in this, and that'll be perfect. Yeah, so this is, again, the Bliss layette set. I used, for the first time in my life, the recommended yarn for a pattern, and I even got all the colors too. These little dots will have little teddy bear faces embroidered in them. It is so stinking cute. So, yeah, I'm excited about this one. It is like a kind of grand poobah of a pattern, because you got baubles, cables, mock cables, you have the color work, and then there's going to be embroidery, and it's going to be a whole thing. But, oh, I can't wait for it to finish. So I have this done. I started on the front, so I'm almost done the first kind of square. And I was kind of hemming and hawing about the blanket last week because I love it. There's a ton of ends to weave in, like a ridiculous amount. And I'm also worried about like little baby fingers and toes, so I was hemming and hawing over whether or not to back it with some linen. I went and I bought the linen. I might run it through a tea dye bath, actually. Need to find my dye pot. Yeah, but I suppose if it's tea dye, I can just do it in a food pot because it's tea. But yeah, I think it'll just be nice to back it and have it be a little sturdier, a little stronger, you know, a little more hard wearing, and then I won't have to worry about these coming out. And then I'm gonna actually hand quilt it because I hate myself and I like to make things hard. Also have no idea what box my sewing machine is, just put that out there. But yeah, so I think that's gonna take a while. I'm gonna embroider it, block it, or should I block it and embroider it? One of the two, but I'm gonna wait till I'm done the sweater, block them all together, then do all the finishing touches and get this thing backed and sent off, hopefully before the baby is too big to wear it, because that's what it's looking like is gonna happen now. But no, and I also just think the linen is nice to have. It's a bit of a joke because my mom's obsessed with linen, so I'll be like, I had to have linen somewhere. Aren't we all obsessed with linen though? Yeah, so this is already pre-washed, ready to go. But yeah, and I'm thinking too, because some of these, like, I don't know, I think I've done my color work probably wrong. But I'm just going to quilt it along here. I'm going to quilt it along inside of here just to kind of really stick it down to something. And I mean, I've worked so hard on this. I'm going to keep the edges knit though. But I've worked so hard on this. I just want it to be perfect for my nephew. I want it to be something that he can have and, you know, give to his kids. And yeah, I've worked so hard. What's working a little harder to making it last longer and better. And that's why we make our own stuff, right? To have really high quality, good products. So I've also been working, obviously, on my temperature blanket. Oh, knitting, wait. One more knitting thing. I haven't actually done anything on it, but I found my Beekeepers Quilt stuff. So I have my little bag with some filling, which is gonna get replaced with, I think I'm out of filling. I had a bunch of stuffing that I used when we moved. Not from like Dublin to Cork, but literally from like Canada to Australia to Dublin. And I used this as padding. So anything, like I had my mug, I put it in a big Ziploc bag and I just completely surrounded it by it. So this is the last I have of that. So yeah, but this is my little bag of Beekeepers Quilt where I've kept the double points, a pair of scissors, some of these, a stitch marker, and some yarn. So I just need to find the rest of the sock yarn I've had for the Beekeepers Quilt, and then I want to try to get one of these going a day. I love having it in this little case. I didn't make this, family friend brought it back from Peru for me ages ago, but I love having it in here because it slips perfectly into my purse. And yeah, I just saw in my knitting group, one of my knitting groups on Facebook, a girl finished hers, and I was like, whoa, perfect timing. It's a sign that this is going to go well. So I have that on deck. Sort of has less to do with knitting and more to do with something else, but anyway, crochet. Yeah, so the only thing I've crocheted, I haven't worked on my blanket at all, my like patch blanket, but I've worked on my temperature blanket, so I'm midway through yesterday's. Yeah, I mean, it's just more of the same. It was a bit of a thrill getting that blue stripe in there. I'm still enjoying this project. It's the temperature blanket, I believe it's by Wool and Hook, and I'm doing it in the Drops Charisma yarn. It's a superwash wool. And so yeah, if you've never done a temperature blanket, the basic concept, you could almost do this with hexie puffs. Like do a hexie puff a day depending on the weather if you had enough yarn. Ooh, that would be interesting. But anyway, that would be interesting though. It's, yeah, so you do, each color has a temperature range assigned to it. So for example, this is 7 to 9 degrees. So every time there's a, you take the high temperature of the day and then you crochet that color. So yeah, we had a little Arctic blast because this is 0 to 6. So we had a little, like it got below 0. But mostly it stayed kind of in the gray, but it's obviously as the year moves on, the colors get different and then come back. So yeah, I've always wanted to do one and decided this is the year. So yeah, that's going really well. I highly recommend this pattern. It's easy enough that it's easy to memorize, but you're doing some different stitches, so it's not like, oh my god, I'm doing single crochet or double crochet over and over and over and over and over. So yeah, I really like that. In terms of quilting, so if you watched me last week, I unpacked a box of craft stuff, like a grown-up, and I actually processed it. So I'm trying to do, even though I know it's going to take me forever to move this way, and it has been, I can report I actually took that box, broke it up. So I took the usable bigger knit scraps I put in just like my big scrap bin that I also need to do this for. These are pieces that are big enough for English paper piecing, and this is stuffing that will be used for my Beekeepers Quilt. So yeah, because I'm sick of buying polyfill stuffing. It's so expensive. It's polyester, which I'm not a fan of. And I mean, I have that anyway. That was free. So yeah, so these are all the pieces. I ended up, this is like the most disorganized I've ever been in my life. I am only sort of sorry. I ended up buying some quilting rulers. So I got like a set on Amazon, just because I wanted them the next day. I don't know if I love these, because paper piecing, you need a tessellating pattern. These ones, the issue I have is my dog just is dreaming. That's not, none of these are simple. As you can tell, there we go. So they don't have the bits for the smaller squares. So like this is ideally the 5.5 centimeter one I wanted, but there's no markings. So it's really weird the way they have you do it. It's not really weird. I think it's standard issue with quilting, but it took me a minute to figure it out because it's not exactly what I wanted. So this set came with, like, I was hoping it'd be something I can just do the points and then boom it in, but I got the hexagon, the triangle, the diamond, two different styles of diamond. So like yeah. So I only really needed the hexagon, but I couldn't find it on its own, and I'm an excessive person. So I got those, and I figure they'll come in handy anyway. But I did manage to make, out of the very Amazon box they came in, this is my fabric template, so I only need one, I think. And then I made a bunch of these little, that should all be the exact same size, or close enough, hopefully, for English paper piecing. So what you do is you take your fabric, and that's a big scrap. You cut the template, and then you actually, I need to iron these all as well. Baste it onto here, and so that when you connect the next one, it's like very sharp and very flush against this, and so then eventually you make like a very crisp, beautiful quilt. I've seen some gorgeous ones. I have so many scraps, and I mean, I guess the theme of my life right now really is blankets, which I'm not mad about, because I just think it's really amazing if you'd like go, imagine going into a house and being offered like a minimum of 2 blankets. I'm on a 2 blanket system and I only have 1 blanket. It's driving me nuts. But yeah, so that's hopefully what I'm going to do with some of my scraps. I really need to get my scrap situation under control as well, because like I have a whole bin of it and there's just no reason, you know? So yeah, so this is my fabric one. I was going to start cutting them all out as I process the scraps and really get it done. But the issue is I have no idea what box my fabric scraps are in. Like, no, or my fabric scissors are in. Absolutely no clue. So we are just going to have to find those at some point, because things are starting to get to the point where I desperately need them. I also, in terms of quilting, so yeah, so I got this idea. I'm going to do this big scrappy English paper piecing quilt with all my leftover scraps. Knit scraps I'm going to have to find something to do with, but yeah, so if they're big enough, pretty much when I process that box, if they were big knit scraps, I folded them and cross that bridge when they come to it. If they're big enough for English paper piecing, they got put in this, and if not, literally, like this took me a week to do, but it works, it's good, and yeah, this is how I'd rather unpack, to be honest, because at least now everything has a place, it's in its place, it is dealt with. So the other thing I decided to buy, because I had the vision of the English paper piecing project, but the issue is I realized, oh no, I forget how to, because quilting, I remember how to piece the quilt, because that's what you do when you make the top, and then in between the backing and the quilting and the binding, I don't really, like, I used to take quilt classes. That's sort of one of the ways I started sewing. So a little bit, my grandmother taught me, my nonna taught me baby clothes, like Barbie clothes making. So it was just like little things, you know, where she'd do the base of the skirt and then I'd sew on the gems. So I knew how to like stitch, but I really learned to sew. There used to be a quilt shop just down the road from us, and my mom put me in classes there because she thought, okay, she'll make friends. She's doing something she likes. And I think she felt bad because for the 2 summers as a child, she put me in a sports camp, and I hated sports. Like, I did not want to play sports all day. Like, I don't mind now. I played rugby and I love playing rugby. I love playing sports, not a big fan of watching sports, but man, as a kid, I hated it. And I was just not athletic at all. So I think she felt a little guilty. So I got to go to quilt camps instead. And quilting camp was right up my alley. I had so much fun. I loved it there. I think I took every class they offered, and my mom still has, like, I made a Canada Day quilt block. I made so many Christmas ones. I have like a heart pillow that I'm gonna steal back. I made a shamrock pillow. I had like 2 kid-sized throw quilts that I made that turned out beautiful. Like, it was insane, but I cannot for the life of me remember how to quilt back a piece. So to practice those skills, the only logical option in order for me to be able to use up all my stuff by making a quilt is to buy more stuff to make a quilt. Right? So I bought fabric. And so I found a craftsy class, because even though I'm mad at TN marketing for National Sewing Circle, there still are a lot of craftsy classes. I have things that I wanted to do, and like I actually have the supplies for. So I'm gonna run through all of them and then cancel, which means a phone call, which is also why I kind of don't want to cancel, because I'm like, ugh, I have to call you. So I shopped. But look how pretty. So I was trying to decide it's their startup library quilting class. So I need 17 fat quarters, or 19 fat quarters, but I think 2 of them are used in the backing. I'm still not entirely sure. And I'm still not sure about background fabric, but we'll get there. So the thing is, I do find her version a little bit busy. So I think for my taste, I wanted to maybe half it and have just less colors, and I'm okay with a few color repeats. So the kind of, I like went out on an exhibition, but fat quarter kits are not as common here as they are in North America. Well, they sort of are, but they aren't, like, you know. So I decided to do some digging, and I found this collection of fabric. It's Moda Fabrics. I think it's called Secret Garden Magic Wild Meadow by Sweet Fire Road. And I love them. I think they're beautiful. These are like so my colors. I love like a deep jewel tone. I love it. I love it. And I think they're very like country and folksy without being too much. You know, I want it to be still very like, I don't know. I want it to be me, and these are me. So I found a place in Ireland called the Crafty Fox. It's in Drogheda, I believe, but I might be wrong. That did these ones. So these ones I can get cut by the meter. So I can get meterage of these. So I decided I'll order all the fat quarters, and then one of them I'll pick as the kind of background color, and I'll order the entire quilt top or make my husband drive an hour so that we can have a fun day out. Oh, look, a craft shop. Oh my goodness, I guess we need to stop. No, I'm kidding. I've already told him and he's so down. And he knows exactly what I'm doing. Yes, there's this one, and these guys are the same in different colorways. I mean, this is stunning. Like, that is so beautiful. Now, this one, and then this guy. So then they only had those, but I knew there was more because they had the charm packs and the jelly rolls. And so I could see all the fabrics. And I'm like, okay. So I can get my hands on these. Now I just need a few more. And if I do a half meter cut instead of a fat quarter, we're going somewhere with that. So on Etsy, I found from a shop in Germany, this one. That one, get that right side up, which is going to be interesting to cut. This guy, and this guy. Now, I would love to do, I think, one of these two for the kind of main color, but she doesn't do meterage of these. So, the two that I'm kind of considering, my first thought when I was just looking at them in like my cart and dreaming about it on the way, is this one. And these came Monday, but I got them yesterday. And these ones came last week. So I was thinking when I was looking in the cart, this one, but I wanted to have them all ready before I ordered. The issue with this one that I'm finding is it works so well as a base for all the ones I got from the shop in Ireland, but the ones I got from Germany, I don't know. I just think that these would kind of, mostly these two, but a little bit the other one as well. I feel like they just wouldn't pop enough on this one. You know, like they just kind of blend into the background, so then I just get something a little muddied. But as I was looking, this one, so see how much that pops? But I don't know why, like in my head, there's just a thing of like, oh, the background of the quilt has to be white, but why does it have to be white? This is why we make stuff. Like, why does it have to be a lighter color? Why can't it be a bit punchy, you know? Like that even pops up against that. Like how come, you know, if I want the background to be a bit darker, the background can be darker. And also, I don't remember a quilting rule where it says the background has to be a light color. So yeah, I think this one matches. I mean, I've already done it with those, but that, like, that works because it's darker, you know? Like, even this one, it works with that, but that works too. So I just think this will make things punch more. And as per usual, I'm 100% soliciting opinions on this, so please tell me if you have a thought. I put up a poll on Instagram yesterday, and so far the raspberry's winning. But yeah, I just think also that there's not as much of a pattern. I mean, realistically, this is 3 colors. That one's only 2, and I think the pattern's a bit simpler. So my instinct was this one, but I think thinking through it, this one's probably a better idea. So yeah, please let me know what you think. Because yeah, like I genuinely, I'm pretty sold on the raspberry, but then I look at this one and I'm like, well, I don't know. So anyway, yeah, like genuinely please let me know what you think, because I am confused. But again, none of this, I mean, I have to wash all of this, I have to get the ones, and then I need something for the backing as well. But I'm obviously not gonna get any of this done until I find my fabric scissors or buy a rotary blade, which is another point of contention. Anyway, this is already 20 minutes, so I think I'm not going to unpack a box today. I mean, I have the box here. No, I'll keep that for next week too, because I think I have enough that I need to sort out without adding on the unpacking. And again, I realize this is probably why it takes me years to unpack, but I don't want to fall in that trap of like, because in Cork we never really unpacked. Things were still in boxes. Like when we moved, we still had boxes that we just never unpacked. And we kind of just put things somewhere just to take them out of a box. And then they were never where they should be. So we're trying to avoid that pitfall here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Mostly the quilting. I really need to get this knitting done though. Like I need to start hunkering down and doing a lot of that. So yeah, let me know what you think, especially regarding the quilts, because I am confused. Thanks for hanging out with me again. I hope you have a really good day. Have a good weekend. It's almost here. Yeah, see you guys soon. And yeah, bye.